It's so weird going live, I promise. It's been a minute. Yay, here we are. Hi, guys. I can't get him in. Invite sent. Hey, guys. Oh. Let's see. I see you. Woohoo! On the first try.
Can you see me?
No, I see absolutely nothing.
All right, hold on one second here. Oh, no, that wasn't it.
Almost. Hold on, I gotta adjust now.
Wait a second. Yeah, there we go. I had to turn my
Woohoo! You
camera
did
off.
it. Awesome.
The camera wasn't turned around.
Perfect.
Hi, everybody.
Perfect. What's cracking?
You know, just chilling. Got the kids to bed-ish. There's still one lurking around upstairs, but
I know it's late over there. I forget how many hours the distance right now.
it's 9 o'clock right now.
Perfect
time.
time.
It's been a long day for me. Last night I had to take my youngest son to the hospital. He had an eye that was swollen, totally shut. No. He's 3.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah, we had to take him to the emergency last night because he had some kind of infection in his eye. It's dermatitis.
That stinks. I'm sorry.
Didn't get home till past 12:30. Still got up and went to work at 5 and went and did some work about an hour away in Buffalo. And we're building out this bar out there with my buddy from Wiesel Wood Company. And you know, it is what it is. Sometimes you got to drag ass, and sometimes yeah. But today it just wasn't those days. But it is what it is. Well, and not to mention, we're the whole my wife and I are sick. So.
Oh no, you guys are beasts. But I get it. Well, I appreciate you for not canceling on the live. This one really
no problem.
So, are you ready to get into it?
Let's get into
it. Are we adjusted? Do we got our lights going?
Yep.
And I
don't see you.
I kept the hat. We both have the hat.
I don't see you though.
You can't see me?
No.
How weird. Can you guys see me? Who's on here? Can you guys see me? You see me? I see me. I see me.
Can you see me?
I see you.
That is strange. But anyway.
Let me see. Let's talk to the wide world of people out. Who's in here? Can you guys see both of us? See us?
Chat, can you see us?
Oh, so they said I can see both of you. Yes to both.
Okay. So, all right. Well,
maybe
I can't see you.
Put your camera. I don't know. They say they see both of us. Oh, Billa's in the house. What's cracking? Do you want me to jump out and come back in?
No, that's all right.
Are you sure? Okay. All right. Yeah. I'm ready. Let's go. Let's do this. Go. All right, you guys. My name is Tiffany Noel Orff, and I am the founder of Welding Women Syndicate. And tonight we have Mitch Hamlin of Hamlin Welding. And it may seem weird because, yes, he's not a woman, and I'm not advocating for women at the moment. But a lot of you may not know that I've taken on a full-time teaching position at a local prison for the Voc Welding program. And Mitch jumped on to one of my posts. He had said something about graduating from the Voc Welding program. So to me, that means a lot because it's interesting to find someone who is so successful like himself and to understand what the transition was like. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Thank you for joining us. Even if you can't see me, I really do appreciate it either way.
No problem.
I have a billion questions for you. So I'm not going to try to spit them all at you like with rapid fire succession. So if I do, like, just be like, whoa, calm down. So I told you saw the paper. I literally have a whole sheet of questions.
It definitely grew since the last time you showed me a couple days ago.
Yeah, well, every single day I've literally asked my students, like, what do you want me to ask him? What do you want me to ask him? Because you know how the Voc program goes. Typically, the inmates that are there, they're supposed to be getting out within 3 to 5 years. Whether it happens or not, they've worked really hard to get into these programs, and they're doing their due diligence so that they could get on into the review boards, and they have to get their programs in. And some want to be there, some don't. But I'm really, really blessed to have a great class.
I know exactly what you mean. I totally know exactly everything you've said up to this point. I know what you're saying.
it's
There's
important,
people
right? And then
in
some
there
people,
that want the program. There's people in there that are there because they have no choice.
right. And some of them, they're just trying to bide their time, right? But
Yeah.
thankfully, the majority of my students, 99.9, want to be there. And they are fantastic. They're artists, they're talented, they're mechanically inclined. And I'm just looking for inspiration. So you had shared a few things with me. So will you tell me a little bit about what your transition was like from your Volk welding program to going out and proceeding on to a welding career?
So I was thankful enough to have a really enthusiastic welding instructor when I was in there, such as yourself. And I mean, he gave me a ton of inspiration because I didn't know what to expect when I got out, and I didn't have any friends in the trade. I didn't know anybody to like questions to ask. I didn't have any guidance out there, so he was just the one thing he told me that stuck with me, and I used that, and he told me, if you just go out there and you tell somebody that you're trying to get a job from an employer that you're willing to work for free for a week just to prove yourself that you at least have the drive and the motivation to learn and to do better, like people will give you the chance. And I did that, I mean, when I came home, I literally went to a homeless shelter. Like my family and at the present moment wasn't prepared to take me, and I was ready and fully prepared to accept the consequences of the actions that I have done in my life. And I was, if I gotta go to a homeless shelter and start from the bottom, let's do it. Like I did this to myself. I'm not gonna put my family in a situation where, they don't they have to take care of me. I did this, and I was a young adult at the time, and I'm ready to suffer those consequences. And so that's what I did. And I didn't come home right to a welding job. My buddy Nick Thurley gave me a job at doing asphalt and seal coating in the middle of summer. It was I came home in September,
Oh,
so it was 90 degrees out there. My mom bought me a pair of $20 work boots from Kmart, and I had blisters on my feet, and I was doing asphalt and seal coating with Tandoy asphalt and seal coat in Rochester. And like I was on Craigslist, I was on Indeed, I was on Monster, where a couple other places, just applying for jobs left and right. And I was just like, I just told them I'm doing this till I get a welding job. That's my goals, and that's what I'm gonna do. And I ended up finding one, and I had somebody who gave me an opportunity, and who, like, in my first phone interview, I told him straight up, I'm like, listen, dude, this is my situation. I fucked up in my life. I've made some mistakes, and now I'm just trying to move past that, and I'm trying to get out of this homeless shelter. And I didn't have a car, I didn't have a license. I like, they were concerned about how I was gonna get to work every day. I was like, I can ride the bus, I can get a ride, I will ride my bike. It doesn't matter. Me getting to work on time isn't even a factor. I'll get there, and I did.
you were
I
motivated. Like, let's
yeah,
back up real quick.
I was
So
dedicated to never go back to that
now
place. And
let's talk about
if you
that
ever
real
been
quick.
in prison before, and there's some people who thrive in there. There's some people who that's their environment, and that's where they get their fulfillment of life, and they get the respect from
Right.
people, and that's just that's they can deal with it. But like, I just didn't want to do that. I had too many people that loved me and cared about me, and I just felt like,
Hmm.
and I love myself and I love life, and that's just not how you enjoy life in there. And so that's what I did. Within 2 weeks I found a job, and they gave me an opportunity. I worked at New York Manufacturing in Rochester, and I did ride the bus to work, and I did ride my bike to work for a long time. And well, long story short, I ended up working there. It was a less than a year. I think it was a day less than a year. Like, I was normally the first one there and the last one to leave every day. I did all the overtime. I just did my best to excel and did everything. I had other employees mad at me who hated me because, I worked hard and I made everybody look bad. I'm not saying that to shine light on me or to be arrogant, but like, that's just, I wasn't doing that to do that. That's just like, I'm just trying to learn everything I can because I want to better myself. I want to make more money. I want to get out of this hole. I want to move forward with life. And in less than a year, I was promoted as shop supervisor, and I helped the boss run the shop. And then I met my wife, and she had two kids, and they had a drug addict father. I don't want to say it too loud because they might still be up, but they had a drug addict father, and he was absent, and so I just I know I empathize with that. I've
Yeah.
been through that. My parents were not perfect. I'm not gonna say anything bad about them. I love them to death. Life is hard, and just so they motivated me. I got a car. I got a license. I lived in I got an apartment that was right up the street from where I worked. So I rode my bike to work, which is only a couple minutes, and I did all these things, and we got an apartment together. And then I just started. I was like, I'm always like, this isn't enough. I could always be doing more. I could always be making more money. I could always be doing something to better a situation. So, then I started a little side hustle, the Hamlin Mobile Welding. That's what originally started at. And I was just doing repair work and stuff on the side. And it's like I started an Etsy shop, and one thing led to another. And I mean, now we're here. So that was about 4 or 5 years ago.
That's awesome. What is it that keeps you motivated? Like, I know, like, there's like a mentality that stays with you, right? Like, it's hard to unravel the things that happen in prison. And unfortunately, I see a little bit more than most from working there.
Yeah.
What keeps you motivated so that you don't stray from wanting to go back or revisiting whatever it is you did that landed you in prison?
The fear of going backwards. Like I've like my wife and I have propelled so far forward that what scares me the most is the fear of going backwards. The fear of, just obviously I'll never do anything to jeopardize my freedom or my family or my kids' well-being or their of like me like have them missing a father or anything like that. So I mean that's pretty much it. I don't that's all that scares me is going back and doing anything like that would jeopardize my freedom.
What do you wish that you knew now that you didn't when you first got out of prison?
Uh, there's a decent amount of stuff. I mean, I don't really know what to pinpoint on that. There's definitely a lot of things that I mean, I wish I learned lot more, like as far as the welding trade or just life in general.
Just life in general.
Um, I don't really know. That's a tough question. Um,
Well, how about let's go to the welding portion.
yeah, like so the welding stuff, like we did a lot of just like pure welding. There wasn't a lot of too many like live jobs that we did like fabrication.
Oh,
You know,
really?
it was,
Did you guys
it
work
was
off of the NCCER curriculum?
I did. I mean that wasn't mandated. Like that
Oh,
was kind of I did that out of my own
oh.
ambition.
Mm-hmm.
Like I actually did my NCCER training, but that wasn't, excuse me, like mandated. Like we didn't do that as a classroom. Um,
Well,
but
with that being
I
said, do you use that? Is that something that you
no,
use in your day-to-day?
no.
Right.
Like
We
everybody's like
love
I'm a certified
NCCR though,
welder.
by the way. I'm
You,
just saying, but I'm just
you do?
asking.
Yeah, like that. No, I mean, like all that stuff is relevant. Like, there's some really important
There's
safety
some
stuff that you pick up from
relevancy
that.
to all of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
I agree with you.
I'm not bashing that at all. Like as far as like I hear people say like I'm a certified welder. Like the certificates don't mean nothing. Dude, I can still weld circles around you. Like you can. Yeah, I doubt you can keep a frame square after you weld it because you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Right.
Like, but
You're just
it's
a
like
professional test taker. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
I,
exactly. Like anybody can read like not anybody, but people
I
can
mean,
read a book and be like, oh, I can answer these
and there's a
questions. So yeah, I'm
time
certified.
and
But
place for everyone, you know what I mean, or for everything.
yeah,
So like I tell my students, like, yes, it is important that you get these certifications, and yes, it's important for you to learn the book curriculum. I said, but it's not going to be the bane of your existence. You really need to get out there.
right.
And like, we're blessed to have a lot of hands-on fabrication. We run basically a fab shop. And
Yep.
so
That's
that's one of
awesome.
the questions that I wanted to ask you is, what do you think, what do you wish you would have been able to do or learn within your program that you didn't necessarily have the opportunity to do?
I wish we had access to more tools because
Nope.
our welding shop, I've seen a couple of pictures of yours, but I wish our welding shop had a little bit more tools. But we were pretty minimized with the amount of equipment that we had. Like we had a shear, an iron worker, a TIG welder, and like 15 stick welders, you know, and we had a couple of MIG welders and getting
Wow.
like I was also what was it? I was a program assistant. Like I was a teacher's assistant for the welding program. So like I did all the ordering of all the materials and equipment and supplies that we needed, and it's like trying to get anything like from the budget was like pulling teeth, you
Right.
know.
I
So
understand.
like that was a struggle. Like you had to get quotes from three different minority-owned companies that
Right.
didn't, like, you know, it was like if you wanted to order something, you're not going to get it for 2 months. So
Oh yeah.
so
Yeah. Yep.
so so if we have like 3 boxes of tungsten left, and I'm like, oh, we need to order tungsten yesterday, so we
Now.
did it 4
Yeah.
months.
Yeah.
You know, you catch the amount of stuff I catch people doing that was like, they're putting TIG rod inside the TIG welder instead of tungsten. I'm like, no, please don't do that because
Wow.
if you break that torch, I'm not gonna be able to use it for 6 months. But
Wow.
but
Okay.
yeah, like we didn't have, and like as far as like ordering material and steel, like we didn't have a ton of stuff, you know. Like we did do some life projects. We made like a snow pusher, like a 14-foot, 13-foot snow pusher for the facilities snow plow. I mean, you guys don't have to deal with snow down there, but
No, not too
um
often.
that's a, that's a real thing up here. It rains white stuff up
We
here,
don't have
and it's hard and it's
that.
up.
Yeah, we don't have that too much. So were you always mechanically inclined?
I mean, it's in my DNA for sure. Like I definitely could always like pick up stuff and be like, yeah, I know how to use this. I was always super tech savvy. I was always like a nerd, you know, like I'm computers and stuff like that. Like, and I've been building those and tearing them apart since I was a pre-teenager.
Yeah.
Just because that's just like if I had an RC car, I'm like, yeah, I play with it for 2 seconds. I'm like, how does this thing work? Let's take this apart. And but like my grandfather owned a transmission company for 20, 30 years. My father's a master carpenter, and he builds multi-million dollar. He used to build multi-million dollar homes. He's retired now, but um, that's just it's in my DNA to build things and to be hands-on. I have ADHD, like I can't sit still, and I always have to be like I'm always like,
That's like
ah.
everybody in my program, including myself.
Yeah.
That's
It's really
kind of a
stimulating.
thing.
Yeah, it's super stimulating because like I mean, you might have to be like, "Oh my God, I need to do this. I need to punch these holes in this, but I also need to tack this together first." So it drives me crazy, but it does like it can be productive and counterproductive at the same time.
So, okay, so considering we have a very well appointed fab shop, we have all the things, we have amazing machines, we have the plasma table, iron workers, shears, all we have, it's an amazing shop, right? I cannot hate on
That's
it. It's
awesome.
amazing. So, what
That's
is it
awesome.
something that you could tell to my students, encourage them to do? Because they're going to see this. I'm going to put it on YouTube tonight and I'm going to show it to them on the VSonic in the morning.
I think you can watch YouTube in there.
Well, we just got access, so we just got this really fancy ViewSonic whiteboard. So I told them, I've been getting in, showing them, what's going on. That I was going to interview you, just so they can gain a little bit of inspiration. Because
Sorry,
you're
my
fine.
youngest
No, you're fine.
still
You're
not
fine.
asleep
But that
yet.
was the whole point. Is I wanted them to see somebody, because it's one thing to have a teacher, and that's fantastic. But
Yeah,
I'm still a woman. You know what I mean? And there's just so many
right.
things that we have in common aside from the welding portion. But it's nice to see someone who has come out of the program and has come out successfully and continues to be successful and pushes himself. So what is something that you would encourage them to focus on in the program? Now, let me just kind of walk you through. We are basically a fabrication shop. We have the intercurriculum, we have AWS, we have the SOMS, the state program. We have a very high, almost a 100% pass rate as far as testing. We're making things for this, for the prison constantly. So there's always some type of hands-on. If that was your scenario, what is something that you think that they should focus on?
So I'm not sure if they have access to like any kind of computer programs as far as design programs, CAD programs. Um, I know what's been like my edge in the world is like I'm really proficient at like design and software programs. So like I can actually like create like a customer's idea or um, their project, and I can make it on the computer. I could design it, 3D render it to make it look like it's sitting in their living room,
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And that has really given me an edge in my industry so far. But I mean, as far as I'm sure they don't have access to that kind of stuff right now. But when they do get out, that I highly encourage that. Like even like SketchUp, Fusion
Yep.
360.
Good
Um,
programs.
uh,
Yeah.
is like SketchUp. SketchUp is in easier and more. Uh, it's definitely really user friendly.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to learn. You know, and it's really useful. You know, you could draw whatever you want, and you have all the angles, all your measurements, and it's just your blueprint. But as far as like being in there, I'd definitely be grateful for the equipment that you have, because there's not a lot of shops that even have access to that stuff, you know,
No.
and you'll be hand cutting stuff instead of shearing it.
Oh, we
You'll
have
be instead of
plasma cutters. We have all the equipment. And when I tell you we have all the equipment, I have friends all over the world, right? And when I posted some of the pictures that I posted, I had so many people just messaging me from the UK and Texas and Ireland, like, holy crap, is that your classroom? And I was like, it's the prison, and I'm the Vogue welding instructor, you know. And
That's amazing.
I don't post too much stuff, obviously, because we can't take phones in there. You know, there's
Yeah, right.
operating procedure and there's safety ordinances. So I've been
I
really
understand.
quiet about the whole situation until you must have seen or read something. You're like,
I
hey,
did.
so not too
I
many
did.
people
I was
actually
like,
know
I just,
that.
you know, I was scrolling. I seen it. I'm like, wait a minute. Me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've
Not too
been
many
there.
people know that. And I tell them all the time, like, how blessed they are to have these and to use them.
Yeah.
Use them, make the mistakes. And here's one of the things that I've
Yes. That's make the
made.
mistakes and learn from them. That's
Yes.
huge,
Yeah.
huge.
That's one of
Because you
the
make a
things.
mistake in a shop, it could cost the company hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars
Thousands.
sometimes on
Yeah.
material. Yeah, it's like to learn the mistakes now is huge. So I mean, if you want to benefit from a program like that, is learn the mistakes now, 100%.
Well, and here's the thing I've noticed with the mentality is that they have a very beaten mentality. They're very rough on themselves, and they don't, like, I have students who are amazing welders, like almost perfection I see, and they don't think that it's good enough, right? And I don't know necessarily how to get into them, like to tell them, like, to give yourself some grace, to like
Right.
allow them to see how good they are and to take it a step further and just better it. I don't know, like, I'm not a therapist, you know what I mean? And I have to tell them, like, you're gonna have to give yourself some grace, because if you don't see how good that is, you're always going to be reaching for some level of perfection and you're never going to achieve it. And
Yep.
I always tell them, we are
Which is
human.
which is good and bad. That can be good and bad. 'Cause I'm that way too, and I'll get mad at myself. I'm definitely, you know, I have a little bit of anger problems here and there. I've definitely smashed a job on the floor because I'm like, it's not perfect. Ah.
Right,
But
right.
you know, it's, obviously you don't want to do that at a job, and I've done that at my buddy's shop that I worked at for 3 years, and he's watched me just throw shit across the shop, and
I've
it's
done
not a
it.
good look, you know.
No, I've done it.
Yeah,
I've
right.
done it. Yeah. I mean, and that's one of the things I'm like, I'm pretty brutally honest with them. You know, I let them know how many times it took me for a certification, or how awkward it was for one of the cars I builded, or how sometimes I don't even know where to start. I just know how to problem solve, and I know metal, you know, I
Right.
know, and I know the welding processes, and I know, like, I see something, all right, I know how to fix it. I don't always have the answers, you know, and I try to get them to use my knowledge and make the mistakes here so that they can learn to problem solve and know and have the confidence when they leave, right?
Yeah, keep pushing that, because that's probably the best thing I've ever heard. Like that's definitely keep pushing that to them, because that's really important. Make the mistakes now when it's costing the state and not a company.
Right, right. And that's like any school, right? You want to use all the consumables, make all the
Yep.
messes. And the only one caveat to that is we both know it's so hard to get materials, but we're well appointed. You know, aside from batteries for a hood, you know, and I did just order 100 of them. But that's the thing, is that it takes so long because there's so many protocols to go through when you're inside a
Wait,
prison. It's not just like getting what.
are you saying that? Are you saying you have auto tint welding hoods in there?
Oh, we have both. We have fixed shade and we we have both. So
See?
it's funny because
Be grateful, class. All right, because we didn't even
No,
have
no, no.
that.
Don't give me the. Hold on. I have
Be
a
grateful,
fixed shade.
class.
No, 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 no. I got a fixed shade on my arm right here. This is how I learned. So, And it's
Don't tell
funny
me
because
they got a bunch of speed glass XXIs in there, like 500, six
no,
hundred
they
dollar
got the
helmets
Miller.
each one of them.
They got Miller with X mode, which is amazing. But I tell them, once they get to a point, I'm like, look, you've already passed this. You're right-handing, you're left-handing. You've passed these processes. I go, look, I think that it's time for you to go to fixed shade because I have new students coming in every single day, and if they're not as well versed with the process, I give them, an auto shade, and then I give the inmate who has more experience, I give him a fixed shade, and I'm like, just get used to it. I said, I promise you will become a better
Right.
welder, right?
Yeah, because
And they
once you fire up that fixed shade like on a speed glass and it's brand new, crispy, you just pop the new plastic in there, you're like, whoa, dude, I can really watch myself weld.
so imagine they're like learning on these old-fashioned fixed shades. Once you get something brand
Yep.
new and that's creme de la creme, and I even tell them, I think it was 6, 7, 8 years into my career before I ever bought my own welding hood. I just borrowed whatever was at the shop or wore, some junky old, whatever was available. And then I spent a mad amount of money on my first hood, and I still use it on occasion. I mean, I have a billion of them now, but
Right.
that's one of the things that I literally like splurged on was this fancy all sensor clear light, super light, like it is what it is. But I wanted to have that goal. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I found you have to. They're very blessed and very spoiled in this prop. They have all the settings. They got Arc Force. They have Dig. They have all these fancy machines. I said, look, I learned how to weld on a stick welder that had a knob and nothing digital. You know what I mean? And I was
Or
wearing
crank on it. You know, you got to
yes,
crank
and I
it to
had
turn the
a
voltage
fixed
up.
shade.
Yeah, you
I
say
go, you guys
that's what
have
we had.
no. We literally have $250,000 of Lincoln six packs sitting in the middle of my classroom right now, and they're ready to be swapped out with the other Lincolns. They just came out, and I was like, you guys are so spoiled, you
That's
don't even realize it.
crazy.
But here's what it is now that they're getting a little bit comfortable, I tell them, get ready, because before you guys get here, I'm gonna start adjusting every one of your machines, and it's gonna be up to you to be more
Yep.
accountable. So
Yep.
that's one of the things that I impart on them is like, look, like you said, make all the mistakes here. So I'm going to encourage them, and I'm going to make the mistakes for them. And they get mad. And that's the thing is
Right.
I want them to know from somebody who is working on the outside, how does your anger serve you, right? I'm just saying, if you're doing a high-end luxury art installation for a customer, are you going to let yourself get mad like that? How often does that
No, I mean,
happen?
you can't, but I have.
Well, and we're
It
human,
depends
you
on
know
how
what I
bad
mean?
the job's going.
We're human, but that type of mentality when you're in prison, though, it's like
Yeah.
it's an entitlement, and I don't think they necessarily realize that will not
Yeah,
serve you
you
once you're doing
definitely
your
got to
own
keep your
business.
cool for sure.
Absolutely.
Because
So
the majority of the times, no matter how bad the job's messed up, you can fix it.
agreed.
So
So did you always
it's
want to
just
go
time
into
and effort.
welding? Is that welding one of the programs you're like, hold on, this, oh, I'm gonna go into welding, or is that something that you were looking into before?
It's actually funny because like I don't know how it works in California, but like once like I was in county jail before I was getting sentenced, and then they send you upstate, or they send you to the prison system. So like my brother and one of my good friends, Sean Sealer, came and seen me when I was in county jail waiting to get sentenced, and they were like, "Dude, you should look into the welding program while you're up there," and blah blah blah. And it was actually it was quite a miracle how I ended up in the welding program because um like the waiting list to get in there was a year. And
Whoa.
it's like you can't just sit around in a state prison and waiting to get in a vocational program. They'll stick your ass in the kitchen,
Right.
and you'll be working in the mess hall, and nobody wants to work in the mess hall. It's
Mhm.
horrible. So I try to keep the story short, but
No, you're
basically
fine.
I went through phase one. You got to go through phase one, which is like a 2 week program, which gets you, tells you like how to utilize the sick call to go to the medical, or utilize how what you have to do for GD programs and blah blah blah. And so I was going through phase one, and I finished it, went through program committee, told them what I want to do, and they're like, all right, you're on the waiting list. And I literally got shipped out of the prison to go to another one that was close to home because I had court for another case that I had going on because I was a degenerate. And so I missed program committee, and I came back a month later, and they sent me back to program committee. Like, they're like, "What do you want to do?" I'm like, "I'd like to go to Welding vote." She's like, "Oh, actually, we just kicked somebody out of there this morning. We'll give them your slot." And I was like,
Heck yeah.
"Whoa!"
Yeah.
So I literally, like, it was just how it happened it was a miracle, and I was so lucky to have gotten in there. And my well instructor, Matt Carbone, he was definitely an inspiration. He helped me through that program, like, and he was, he was hard on me. Because he knew I had potential. He knew I wanted to learn the program. Like, even though, like, some days were hard, and I couldn't perfect the things just like you did. Like, I wanted to get the perfect MIG bead, the perfect stick bead. I wanted to learn all the vertical up, the TIG machine. Like, our TIG machine in there didn't work.
Oh,
Like, it
no.
was broken. The only TIG machine that we had, and I never worked on a welder before. I don't know how to repair welders. Like, I've barely even seen one. And so I literally took the whole thing apart, and I cleaned. It was like I cleaned the cooler out, I cleaned everything, and I figured out this one motor wasn't spinning because the coolant's been in there for so long, and the pump was seized up. So I figured out. I literally broke down the whole machine, fixed it, and got it to work, and then taught myself how to TIG weld. Because actually, my weld instructor, he didn't know how to TIG weld.
What?
I read the textbooks, and I learned it, and I taught it myself. And a lot of the stuff I was self-taught because I was just like bored tinkering in the corner trying to figure it out.
Right.
So just that's just ADHD. Yeah, my wife's yelling
I
at
get
me.
it. I get it. So how did you go from doing? I think the first time I saw your page, I noticed it was a massive swing. Is that right? Do you remember what picture I'm talking about? There's a swing on your page.
Yep.
Okay.
The octagon swing.
So how do you go from graduating a welding program in prison to working at a buddy's shop to building these magnificent, structural components, and then going to high end? Like, one of the pieces I think you just showed me was some beautiful stainless steel. It was like 150 pieces, all hand formed together. And am I allowed to say it? I think it's a
Yeah.
bull. Okay, I'm like, oh, don't say it. I think it's a bull, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you go from all these steps? Like, are you just improving on your processes, and then I don't know how have you gone from one thing to another?
I ask myself that all the time. Like whether it's if I'm enjoying what I'm doing, or like not, or like doing something I love, I'm like, how did I end up here? Why am I doing this? But I don't know, just chance and opportunity, taking chances, taking opportunities that are thrown at me. Like, somebody, hey, can you build this? Yeah, I can build that. And figuring it out. Even if I knew I couldn't, or if I felt like I couldn't, like, it's like, yeah, I can build that. I'll figure that out. It's just metal, like you said. And
I like that
luckily,
mentality. I live by that mentality. I may not know everything, but I will figure it out. You
right.
tell me go build, a stainless steel eagle with the aluminum head, I got you. Never built one in my life,
yeah,
but
we'll riv knot that thing together. We'll figure it out.
Like, I don't care. Like, it's just metal. You know what I mean? Like, I know a welder. You know what I mean? Like, I'll figure it out. It's really not rocket science. And I think I have learned to love metal so much. And I tell them, like, you either do or you don't. Like, there's not any in between. And I don't like to be bored. So I'm just like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Yeah, sure, I'll do it. I'll figure it out,
That's like, so my buddy that I worked with for 3 years, he's from the UK. He owns Fabwell Studios. Super genius dude, one of my best friends in the world. That's like, I get pissed off and I'm doing something, and things like, we'll form something, or we'll cut something in the shear as a big ass sheet, and the sheet was actually out of square. Like, we were making these lockers for this high end home, and so this 5x10 sheet was factory out of square. We just kind of threw it on the thing and ran across the screen, and just pulled the tape and cut it and formed it, and like looking at it, like, it's out of square, and this thing's 8 foot tall. this foot wide and this foot, and it's out of square. And I'm like, fuck, I just wanted this thing to be perfect. He's like, dude, relax. It's just metal. We'll figure it out. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right. And we did, and it came out freaking sweet. But
now it's an
yeah.
abstract piece.
Right. It was supposed to be like that, dude. Settle down. It's art.
Yeah, I meant it to
Man.
be like that. Don't trip. Now
Yeah.
you can charge more for it because it's art. Don't trip. You got this.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I've said that. I say that to my employees, like, dude, relax. It's art. It doesn't matter.
No, there's not. There really is no. There's no rhyme and reason to it. You know, it's you're trying to articulate some vibe or a mood for somebody. You know what I mean? And they're like, yes, that's it. Cool. That doesn't mean I have to have it any particular way. That's great art. You know what I mean? Or you try to.
Because in our heads, it's different. You know, like you have to. Sometimes you have to try and view it. But you have to be careful because some people are super particular, and they'll look at it and be like, "What is this little tiny scratch right here? Oh my God, I'm not paying for this." But then you have some people like, "Oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever seen." Like meanwhile, you're like,
"No, that's artistic scratches."
Yeah. You're ready. Like some jobs, ready to throw yourself down the stairs, and the customer's super stoked on it. But meanwhile, they have no idea what happened to get they got you to that point.
So how did you get into your style of the geometric sculpture?
I've definitely so that's another thing with the chance and opportunity, like through Instagram, you know, sorry, my wife's coaching me along.
We want the wife in here. I saw she was working on something too. Hi, wife.
She does work with me. Thanks Consiglio. Yeah, so actually a story, so you can see Consiglio in the chat. I had just a real quick story. I had a disastrous moment happen. I had to deliver this really nice waterfall stainless steel table to the Hamptons, right? Beautiful, huge home right on the water, $1 million pool in the back, you know, the false edge pool. And, you know, I traveled this thing for about 8 hours through the New York City roads and stuff like that. And long story short, we go to get it off the trailer. One of the legs is cocked in like 2 inches out of square. Yeah, and I'm like, so we bent it back, and like all the weld split in the seams. Obviously, you know, I'm just planning to deliver this and install it. Didn't bring my welder with me, so it was just mortifying, embarrassing situation. But long story short, we got it fixed up. We had his welder friends meet us there, and we fixed it. That's you know, one of those stories like, don't worry, it's just metal, we'll fix it. But you know, in the moment, it's like overwhelming. No.
How could you do an install and not bring a welder, though?
Because it was already a finished product. It was supposed to take it off the trailer and bring it in the house, you know? It's like I always come overly prepared. Like when I was just out at we just did we're installing a bar out in Buffalo, and like I'll take my entire shop except for my forklift and put it in my truck. Wow. You know, like hey, are we gonna need this Torx bit set? Like, I don't know, just bring it, put it in there. Right. You know, no, we don't have any Torx screws, but you know, just bring it. But that's usually the scenario. But this time is like, you know, you expect one thing, and you just always expect that nothing's gonna go as you expect it.
Murphy's Law should always be implied. Period. It's gonna happen. The worst.
Yeah, I always plan for the worst because usually the worst always happens to me. Like I always like, oh, this is gonna be, you know, an easy job. You know, it's just like that one.
Come on, don't manifest
that one bolt that turns an hour job into a 3-day job. You know, as soon as you break that sucker, it's like, yep, so throw it out, junk.
How about on this side? How many times have you gotten to the point in your welding career that you wanted to give up?
Every day, all right? Every day. I just like, why am I doing this? I need a desk job.
The fact that you answer this candidly, like that real life information. I feel you. I promise you. Trust me, I felt this on a cellular level right now.
Yeah.
So what prevents
you? Know, it's a love-hate relationship every single day.
So do you think you're a slave to your work, or what is it that continues you to keep going?
Honestly, like it's a little bit of both, you know, but like I'm a slave to it, but it's a slave to me. Like I need that. Like I have to be doing something, otherwise I'll be off doing bad shit again. You know, like I have to be staying busy. I have to be staying focused on 100 different things. I just, you know, it's important, you know, especially for people with ADHD, and my wife's writing down broken neck.
You broke your neck. You kept going.
Oh yeah, okay,
What?
yeah. So yeah, okay. So for instance, I broke my neck on my dirt bike, right? Broke 3 vertebrae. I was in a neck brace for 3 weeks, no, for 3 months, and like 2 weeks after I got out of the hospital, I'm in the shop DAing these parts
Oh
like
my
this.
word.
Well, I said you shouldn't be out here working.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, I gotta get this job because I had outstanding jobs that were in my shop that I had to get done.
Yeah.
That I wasn't gonna be late. It's important to me. When I give my word to somebody, it is important to me that I keep it. So, I mean, not a lot can stop me. I could literally break my neck and like I'm still gonna keep going. But
I understand
but
that.
yeah,
Absolutely.
it can be tough. Like a lot of days are I'm enjoying it. I love this, and some days I'm like, this sucks. Like what am
You
I doing
question
right
your
now?
very existence in this whole life, right?
Right. I
Yeah,
don't make enough money for this job. I didn't quote enough for this job. I got 60 hours in on it, and I only it drives me insane.
but do you think that there's enough diversity in this industry to keep you going? To keep you from
100%.
going back to where you came from?
100%. There's always something to learn, and it can never
Yeah.
end. It's like I learn new stuff every day that I'm like, oh wow, I didn't know that. So it's constant. Once you think you're a master welder, like everything, it's like you don't. There's always curveballs in every job.
Yeah.
Can you turn that, please? There's always curveballs to every job. And like especially with this geometric stuff, it's like I'm in mid job. I have 8 of these things to make, and I'm like, oh man, I wish I would have did this different. I could have did that different, and like next time I'm gonna do this different. So every job. It's like sometimes it's a one-off part, and you're like, man, I wish I would have did this
Ah,
different. Man, why did I design it like this? Like why didn't I put that part there instead of this? So there's always room to grow in the fabricating trade, whether it's wood or metal or anything really,
yeah.
plumbing.
Nah, nah,
There's
we're not trying to go there. But
hey,
I
I
only
got I
say
got plumber friends that are watching
no,
this. Be careful.
I only say that because one of my mentors in the on the yard, he's a plumbing instructor, so he'll see this, so he knows I'm just talking shit.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Plumbers suck, dude.
We're kidding. We're kidding. No,
Okay,
no,
kidding.
it's funny. So, how long did it take you to learn the program to uh, effectively make your geometric art? So, how long from inception of learning it did it take you?
I didn't learn it until I finished my first one. I didn't even
Really?
know I could do it. Like I designed the program, like I looked at it, like I had the model, and I'm like, yeah, I could build that. I mean, obviously, I'm like looking at it, I can break it down in my head. I'm like, I'll just do this, this, and this. I'll form this. I gotta weld this there, and I'll make a halfway. I'll put this form around it to make sure that it's going in the right direction when I get halfway, so I know it's not cocked by the time I get to the last section where it's way off. I find out it's an inch off or something. But it it took a little bit of time, but I mean, I didn't know I could do stuff like that until the opportunity was presented to me. And it's like, I never would have knew I could build stuff like that until somebody was like, "Hey, can you build this?" And I unequivocally said, "Yeah, sure, I can build that." But it's until I actually built it. I'm like, "Holy shit, I built that! That is cool." That's kind of like every job for the most part.
Did,
Like you stand back and look at it, like I hated doing that in the moment, some of it, and
yeah.
it came out really awesome.
Now, did
But
you always have that sense of like, yeah, I can do that? Like you seem to always advocate for yourself or have a confidence about yourself that you knew that you could do something, or is that something that's developed over the years?
yeah, yeah, and it's caused me a lot of physical harm in the days. Like I've had a lot of broken bones because I used to ride BMX bikes and like I used to do backflips and stuff on a bike. I still can. I take my kids to the skate park on bikes and I'll bust out flares and I'm 30 something years old, the broken neck and shit.
Right.
And just and I've only gotten that good because I'm like, I can do that. Watch
It's
this.
just the
Like,
neck.
ah! God, my shoulder's sticking out of my bone's sticking out of my shoulder.
Right.
You know, I've always had that problem. You know, it's a blessing and a curse for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Now,
Definitely,
what about your children? Is this type of life, fabrication and welding and art and luxury furniture, is this something that you want them to learn?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I thought you were gonna ask about the yeah, I can do that kind of thing because like I have my youngest son will jump off anything of any height, doesn't matter, and he's 3 years old.
No, you have
Yeah,
that
he's
kind of
just
kid.
total savage, and he doesn't care about pain or anything like that.
He's
He's definitely
definitely a welder then.
oh yeah, for sure, and a child endangerment case waiting to happen.
Well, maybe not that part. Not that part, yeah.
It's like, why did you let your kid jump off there early? I didn't know he was gonna do that. I turned around for 2 seconds. But no, I mean, I at when they turn 5, their fifth birthday, it's their rite of passage. Where I take them to the welding shop and we lay some beads. So
Yeah,
and I see if we have to send them off or not. You know, if they can at least run the MIG welder, at least the MIG welder, he can stay.
You're so funny. That's what we were talking about this. So I think that's probably the safest process is the MIG welding.
Yeah.
You know, there's minimal spatter. It's not as violent sounding as stick, and it's not as complicated as TIG. I mean, but who knows? Like maybe they end up being like
whatever you do, you just don't want to be a stick welder.
Hey, that's my favorite process ever.
Oh man, nobody likes stick welders.
It has no business in my life, right? Like I'm typically doing thin gauge metal or something structural or working on a car. It has no business in my life, but I love flux core with gas. I love stick. So anytime I'm holding a class, I'm teaching people this and they're like, are we going to use this? Probably not, but I really like it. So just do it. I'm trying to give you guys options here. And they're looking at me like, it's really hard. And I go, look, back in the day, we didn't have all these fancy options. You were stick welding. So let's do this. Yeah, I'm definitely I love stick
It's definitely useful. I mean, I honestly don't even think I have a stinger in my shop, let alone a stick rod.
Whose idea was this interview to happen? I can't even believe we're talking, man. This is crazy.
You messed up though. you gonna cancel me? Am I canceled?
That's a cancel crew right here.
Well, are you even a welder?
I
mean, no. I've honestly, I've probably burned up like in the penitentiary. I've probably burned up well over a couple thousand rods, you know, and I probably broken a couple stingers because I couldn't get it to stop sticking in the metal.
No, I have a feeling that you're undercover stick welder because you called it a stinger. You could have just called it an electrode holder, and I would just like completely X out right now.
Electrode holder. Dude, what kind of work you have them doing there?
Oh, we go all the way, man. We go all the way.
It's a stinger.
Oh, it's
are you even teaching them to be welders?
It's so funny because I come in there and we do the book work and we're reading through, and it's so funny when you start reading the technical terms, and I'm like, look, it's called an electrode holder, but if anybody says that word in this shop, it's called a stinger. Nobody knows what an electrode holder is. If you go to the field and you say electrode holder, they're going to tell you to drag up. Like, I guarantee you're not going to get in there. They're going to fire you before you even start. Like, and they're like, what? I go, it's a joke, but nobody calls it.
You say that in a welding shop, they're going to be like,
oh,
electrode.
What?
Who hired this guy? Where did he come from?
Right. But it's funny because they have to learn
AI or what?
terms. Well, they have to learn those terms for the testing because they're going to be like, stinger wasn't on there and I didn't pass, and they're going to be so pissed off at me. But I'm like, look, don't use that term in here. It's a stinger. Nobody used those terms. It's just that's fancy talk for, the professionals that don't weld.
You got to teach them to be a street welder and a book welder.
That's what we're teaching them. They got the best of both worlds right now.
That's awesome.
Well, it's important because they're passing curriculum. They got to do their own due diligence according to what the state requires. And the state doesn't necessarily, I don't think the state's ever welded before. And that's perfectly fine. That's where I come in. So I get it. But I laugh. I laugh at some of those terms. And I'm like, electrode holder. Oh, that's so funny. It's a stinger. Get out of here with that. But
that's why you never respect welding inspectors, all right? You don't have respect for those people, all right? They're not welders, all right?
We have one coming in to do their certification. I'm just kidding. They're gonna be like, we heard we don't respect you.
No,
it's funny is you tell them one thing and they do it. So I'm like, don't say that.
No,
he's definitely kidding you guys. He's completely kidding.
I'm kidding. No, they definitely have the insight to because if you're doing a job that's has to be certified, and you need to be certified. Like, and they have to X-ray these parts, and you're just like, yeah, whatever. Instagram told me screw welding inspectors, and you got slag inclusions, and you got air pockets, and you got
porosity for
you know
days.
porosity all up in there. It's like you're going to cost the company that you're working for a lot of money. You're probably going to lose your job. So all that's important, and as much as like on-site training and actual hands-on training is important. Like I've literally, while I was in there, I had textbooks. Like I still have them. I brought them home with me. I have welding textbooks that I had sent in, and I read them things front to back. And I have a notebook in my box,
Yeah.
my box from my ex-convict life that I have, that it's literally, I hand took notes. I basically copied and rewrote the textbooks, like as I was, like just because, like being I have ADHD, like when I read something, I'm like, damn it, what did I just read? And I'll read it again, I'm like, damn it, what did I just read? But so I physically have to like write it down and read something 3 or 4 times to just fully make sure I comprehend and retain the information. So, I mean, I have a stack. I've read the textbooks, and I know the terminology for the most part. I might have forgot some of it, but it is important to know the textbooks and to have the hands-on skills for sure.
Now, what welding processes do you normally use on a day-to-day basis?
Uh, uh, my MIG welder collects a lot of dust. My stick welder, I don't have one of those. So I made So, no, we have a Dynasty 350. We have a Miller Multimatic 220, and I have a Miller 211. I think it's a 210 or a 211. But we literally most of what we do is TIG welding. Most of
You're primarily,
what we do is TIG
well,
welding.
not
Yeah.
necessarily primarily, because I saw some of the big structural pieces you're doing, like your tables
Yeah.
and some of those pieces. So you're not primarily doing stainless, but
Yeah.
are you
Right.
using stainless quite often?
Quite often. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stuff is stainless, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like some of the smaller Etsy orders and stuff we get is all steel, and we'll MIG weld that, whatever's more efficient for the
Sure.
job. If we have some tight seams that let's just lay a TIG bead down those, and it'll be much quicker to grind them off rather than throwing a fat MIG bead on there and you're just grinding that thing forever and
Right.
ever and ever. And so yeah, we try to we do like a lot TIG welding a lot because it looks more professional and it looks better for the most part. So
Now, you said something earlier about seeing something on Instagram. Now, here's one of the things that I've noticed, that they're very matter of fact, right? They'll read something in the book, and I'm like, I will argue it all the time. I'm like,
yeah,
just because it says it right here doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be like that out there. And I
yep,
tell them each fab shop's going to be different. There's going
100%.
to be a WPS for every job. There's going to be someone who has a particular requirement. So when you say, oh yeah, I saw that on Instagram, can you please elaborate on how important it is to not be so narrow-minded when you see one particular way? Because everybody has a different way. Yes, there's a foundational code, and there's requirements we should have, no inclusions, no porosity, good
Yep.
penetration, the proper process for the best productivity. But when you see something in the book, you think it's science, and I'm like, it's not. It's not even.
Yeah,
I
like
go, that's not necessarily
here's one.
always true.
Right. Like here's one. Sharpening your tungsten has to be 2.5 times the diameter at a certain degree angle. It's like I've sharpened so many tungsten, used so many of those things. Like it's good. You're gonna probably touch off on that thing, or pretty quickly. So it's like just sharpen that thing and like make it look as nice as possible. It doesn't
Right.
have to be. You don't have to get a measuring tape out or a scale out to make sure it's 2.5 times the diameter of the thing at a 60-degree angle. Like there's definitely got to keep an open mind because every
Right.
shop does stuff differently. Like
Yeah.
cutting stuff at angles. Some people, if you're cutting say a 5 foot piece of tubing and it's got to be 45-degree angles at each end, like if you're cutting stuff for somebody else to fabricate, some people might like it a 16th short because when they make the square frame, actually, because if you cut something exactly 60 inches and you got 4 pieces, you're making a square frame, it's going to end up a little tiny bit bigger just because of the way the fitment is. So you want to actually cut that like a 16th shy, so you have a little bit of wiggle room. You can leave a little bit of a gap, so you can shift stuff around. So like that's just one example. I mean, every shop is different. That's as far as they handle their equipment. Whatever you do, you just make sure you turn all the gases off and all the welders off, because you're going to get some shit if you leave some welders and gas tanks on. All right.
Agreed. That's so true. It's funny.
Turn the tanks off. Shut the valves.
No, it's funny because I've actually gone into my own shop and I forgot to turn my bottles off, and when I came back to the shop, they were empty. Yep. So this is one of those lessons
you got
learned.
the smallest leak in that thing, and all of a sudden
it's open all night. Yeah, and now there goes all your argon, and you have a deadline that morning, and you have none, and then you got to scramble to get gas, and holy moly, it's not the business. Yep. But that's the thing is, I like that you touch upon that part, is just not being narrow-minded. The book says one thing, I say another thing, Instagram says one thing, YouTube says another thing, and we were watching one of Welding Tips and Tricks with Jody, and he basically said the same thing, like, you're going to do what you need to do to get the job done. As long as there's, in your head, there's proper penetration, it could pass x-ray, we hope, right? I mean, sometimes it's not even a necessity, but you want to do the best quality work that is possible, and then be confident about that. It's not always going to be the same as what that person does next to you or what your boss does. It's going to be for what you may not weld as fast. You may not do this. So don't be so narrow-minded when it comes to what books say and what your teacher says. That's what I find is really hard to impart upon them is, I'm telling you one thing, the book says another. Well, it says this, and I saw a video and I go, well, who's the person? I don't know who they are. Like, what do they do? Like, what makes them so special? You know what I mean? Like, let me see their background. I don't know. Like, are they certified? Let me see. Like, he's a mook. I don't know.
Right. Whatever you do, if you're going into a new job site, your new company, just don't be going there being matter of fact. Just try to just fall back and just get a feel that. I mean, if you're in prison, you know exactly how it goes. You're not going to go into a new dorm or a new cell block, being all matter of fact. You're gonna sit back and like, all right,
assess the situation.
Shit. He's this, he's that, and then you can kind of like get a feel of it. So that's pretty much what you want to do. And there's going to be some older guys that are in the field or at the company that you're going to want to hook yourself to that knows a lot more stuff. You're like, oh, I didn't even think of that like that, and like, oh, I could do that like that. That saves a lot of time. So definitely keep an open mind, because especially coming from the prison vocational, like you're not going to know everything.
Right.
Not going to know everything.
Well, it's limited, where our time is limited, the mentality is limited. So I try to give them as much real life experience as possible. But like, in the prison system, there's just so much. Everything's locked, everything's limited, everything's just protected. It's just, holy crap. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, by the time we're unlocking,
lost the screwdriver off the shadow board, lock it down.
By the time we unlock an account and do this and that, we got to lock things back up. It's just, there's so little time for what it takes. I think our program is about 18 months. It's going to take like 2.5 years. And I just tell them nothing, the CDCR, everything here is subject to change. So be patient, and it's not always going to be like that, but you just have to have definitely open mind, especially in this industry. Like you said, you did everything you could to better yourself. You learned all the things. You stayed as late as possible. You did your due diligence. And I did the same thing. I was sweeping floors before I ever touched a welder. I was rebuilding the welders. I was grabbing the coffee. But I'll tell you what, I owned my first business 1.5 years later, though. And I said, that's no joke. I went from girlfriend to shop girl to co-owner in 1.5 years.
You're a boss, bitch.
I'm a boss, motherfucker. And I tell them that too. I said, look, you got to stay humble. You're not going to come in, you're going to be some NASA welder. And they have these mentalities, like they run their best 70-18 and boom, I'm like God's gift to welding. And I was like, aha, now let's do it on your offhand. Man, we don't want to
let's run that bridge test. Let's see how good vertical up with this root pass, huh?
Right. I'll make them cry. We're going to do a contest tomorrow, and it's on I think we're doing a 3-pass fillet weld overhead with 60-10. So they're going to be like, what? Offhand. We're going to use offhand. So I try to keep it interesting for them so that they could do, it'll be so that this winner of the contest will be whoever is the winner will be the lead for the next project. And so we have a lot of big projects. We're just passing security audits. So we have gates coming in and things that we need to build for the prison. And so they're like, all right, here we go. We have a massive shop, you know, so it's like I'm going to build a welding simulator. So, you know, I love what Scott's doing in Texas. So of course I have room for it, and I have them remodeling the backyard. And I'm like, all right, you guys, we're going to have a pipe welding simulator because we have mad amount of pipe. So we're going to do something interesting back there.
That's how we ended up. We burned through so much scrap metal that we ended up just welding pipe. We actually have like an ancient pipe notcher that you had to hook a torch up to and everything. It was on a crank handle, and we ended up like, you know, beveling pipe with this thing just to weld pipe because we're all on scrap metal in there.
Hey, whatever keeps them busy. I don't care how ancient it is. I'm with it, man. You know what I mean?
Right. Here's a hard wheel. Here's a hard wheel and some pipe. Go bevel all this perfectly.
By hand, no torch.
Yes. Yeah. Don't forget to grind that mill scale. But that's so another thing you said about that overhead competition or the test that you have. One thing is like to really get good at is just get good at welding things out of position, because majority of the time you're never going to be sitting at a table or standing at a table and welding with your elbow rested and
nice
you've got your hand on there and you're just like, yeah, look how good this bead is, dude. I'm a master. Right. You're gonna be standing on a ladder with like holding one hand, and you're gonna be trying to like weld this thing that's way up there and it's shaking like a leaf. Yes. So like definitely learn how to position welding and get as most uncomfortable as you possibly can, and then you'll be good.
Well, you know, it's funny that you said that. I told them how blessed they are to have these comfy little booths and all these fancy little machines. I said, look, I was underneath a Dodge swept line holding onto the axle, and I had to weld with my offhand. Took my hood off because my hood, I couldn't see the weld where I was trying to get at, and I had to poke the MIG welder in because that's the only thing that would work, right? And then I had to hope and pray. I hit the weld, and then I'm hitting my head on the bottom of the bed of the truck, and it's a lifted truck, so I couldn't sit all the way up, and it's not low enough where I could lay down. So I was like getting an ab workout too. Holy shit. And I was like, please, dear Lord, let me at least have hit that weld. And I kept looking. Mind you, I'm not wearing a welding hood. And they're thinking, you're lying. I go, no. I showed them video of the truck I worked on. I go, no, I'm not. I'm going to show you the video. And they're like, what the? I said, I couldn't even see. I took my glove off because my hand couldn't fit in there. Only the MIG gun could get in there. And I was like, holy moly. This is what you guys are going to be looking forward to right here. Yep. It's not always fun, let me tell you. That's the less glamorous side.
Nowadays, like, I won't touch anything that has rust on it, all right? Because I'm past that, and I'm so sick of that. Like,
it's like the bane of my existence. I swear I live for it. I'm like, yes, let me get into it. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I get people calling me like, hey, I got this mower deck that I need repaired. I'm like, you know, you can just call Fabweb, and I'm not doing it.
Trash it. I can't help it. It's cars, and I'm like, I swear, the people with the most rust are like, is this weldable? I'm like, hell no. And you start cutting into it, and rust is falling out, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing?
There's not a good layer of steel left in that thing.
It's not even steel anymore. It's just junk. Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the worst.
Sorry.
All right.
It's
7:03, and I don't want to keep you guys too late. I don't want your wife killing me. I love your wife. I believe it. You guys have babies.
Oh, here. That's it.
Hi. I love the fact that you're welding.
She's gonna be so mad at me because she didn't spend an hour in the bathroom getting ready.
No, I love it. I just like the picture of her welding. I really love it.
And she's sick. She's been wrestling 3 kids all day, and they've actually been winning. So.
I'm so sorry. I know those days. But okay, so before we wrap it up, what is some advice that you would give to someone in a Voc welding program right now?
Just have the perseverance, have the diligence. Don't stop, don't quit. It's just like some days are hard, some days are great. Just get out with a positive attitude, you know, like I started with nothing. I know what it's like. Now I want to provide my family the best life I possibly can. You know, some days are hard, you know, some days you have to threaten customers to send me money because, you know, I got to pay bills, but life isn't easy, and with welding, it's gonna get better. Some days are harder,
But is
but
it worth it?
it's 100% worth it. You know, it's 100% worth it because once you finish that job, once you're standing back and looking at that project, and you're like, oh my God, I built, dude, I could get teary-eyed, emotional right now because there's a number of projects where I look back and like, holy shit, we built that. Dude, we built that. Like I've like with my employee, even my wife, you know, I've looked at things like, oh my God, I've never thought I would have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah,
You know,
it's changed our life.
it's definitely changed our lives. It's 100% changed my life. It's changed my wife's life and our kids' life, and you know, I'm grateful to be a welder. I'm grateful to have learned the trade. I'm grateful for every opportunity that every customer has given me, you know, to put their money in my hands and to give me the chance to show that I can build stuff or make shit happen. You know, it's not done, dude. We've got some pretty crazy projects in the works, and it's gonna be pretty sweet. You know, it's some like one of in the world kind of stuff,
That's so rad.
and they're gonna be some pretty the world renowned sculptures. They're gonna be seen in from billions of people, and it's gonna be awesome. And I'm gonna be really psyched to be part of it for sure.
Well,
Yeah, and
I
it's
know
all
I
because
told you this before, but I'm proud of you. I know
thank
how
you.
hard it is from working in there, and to know like where my students are to what they could be through you. I'm proud of you. I'm super proud of you. And I love the fact that you are going to be able to provide a huge inspiration for them. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate your wife's time. Hopefully we could do this again. I definitely want to see what the heck you're working on. So I'm super stoked to see what the heck you're talking about. But I appreciate your
Yep.
time tonight. Definitely.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your time. I love doing this. This was awesome. I hope that I've answered. There's probably 100 things that I forgot to say. I'm
No,
like,
you
damn it, I
like
forgot
answered
to
everything. I don't even know I didn't even have to ask most of it. So it's perfect.
Yeah, but there's still probably 100 things I forgot to say. But yeah, like I hope I've given it like it's not your life isn't over just because you're incarcerated and you're in prison and you feel like there's nothing like even if you have nothing to come home to like dude I didn't have clothes when I came home. I didn't have money when I came home. I had nothing. I had a pair of boots and a freaking sweatshirt when I came home and a toothbrush, you know, like it's your life's not over. It
Right.
just takes hard work. You got it. If you want it, you can go get it. It's America, the land of opportunity. Like there's people that come here with nothing all the time, and they make it. You know, you guys you can do it. It's the opportunity is there. You just got to be able to work for it. You got to make sacrifices. You got to put those long days in. You got to get up when you don't want to get up. You know, you can do it.
I'm gonna do it.
Keep your heads up. Utilize that program because you guys are in a great opportunity right now. It
Yeah.
sucks you got to go back to your cell block and lock in, but I'm telling you right now, you guys have a great chance, great opportunity. It sounds like you're a really awesome instructor. You know, like I was blessed with a really awesome
Well,
instructor, Matt Carbone.
no,
Dude,
but
like
it helps when
I
they actually care, though. You know, I've seen a lot of teachers
yeah,
who don't care. So
no,
because I
100%,
love
dude.
welding,
Me
I
too,
love
me
welding.
too. There was vocationals in there.
Yeah, I
People
love
didn't care.
welding and I believe in it, and I believe like they're so talented there, you know. So
Oh,
I see I can see what they may not see. So it's nice to see someone who is on the outside who's making it happen, they can relate to a man a little bit better. So I appreciate you sharing your story.
no problem.
All
Thanks for everything
right.
you're doing for those guys in there, and I hope they
Thank
appreciate
you.
you.
Appreciate that.
Well,
All right, you guys, we're
welders
tuning
rule,
out.
plumbers suck, dude.
All right, you guys, thanks for tuning in. I hope we can see what you're working on soon, and have a great night.
Okay, take care. Thank
All
you.
right.
Bye, guys. Bye, everybody.